Look at this painting for 5 seconds. Go on, actually look at it. You'll see a farmer ploughing a field, a shepherd standing with his flock, and a ship sailing calmly toward a harbour with rolling hills and a coastline behind them, and a fisherman crouched at the water's edge with his line cast out. It's a peaceful countryside scene, the kind of thing you'd walk past in a museum without breaking stride. Now here's the problem. This painting is called Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. It is supposed to be about a boy who flew too close to the sun on wings made of feathers and wax, watched them melt, and fell out of the sky to his death. So where is he? Look again, bottom right corner, half submerged in the water, just past the fisherman, and you'll find 2 legs kicking above a small splash. That's the entire fall of Icarus. The myth that gave this painting its name, reduced to a pair of legs drowning in the corner of the frame while everyone else in the scene carries on with their day. The farmer never looks up. The shepherd is gazing at the sky, but in the wrong direction, watching nothing in particular. The ship sails past close enough that the sailors could probably hear the splash, and not one of them turns around. The boy is dying in the water, and the entire world painted around him has somewhere else to be. If you've made it this far without spotting the legs, don't feel bad. Most people scroll straight past this painting their whole lives without ever finding him. The title tells you exactly what the painting is about, and the painting still manages to hide it from you. There's a second detail almost nobody catches, even after they've found Icarus. Just above the fisherman, perched on a branch, sits a partridge. It looks like set dressing, the kind of small bird an artist tosses into a landscape to fill space. It isn't. In Ovid's telling of the myth, Icarus's father, Daedalus, once had a nephew named Perdix, a gifted young inventor who Daedalus grew jealous of and pushed off a cliff. The goddess Athena caught the boy mid-fall and turned him into a partridge, which is why partridges to this day nest low to the ground and never fly high. That bird on the branch is Perdix, watching Daedalus lose his own son to the exact same kind of fall he once caused. It's not decoration, it's revenge, painted quietly into the corner of the scene and left for almost nobody to notice. Before we move on, I want to slow down for a second and actually look at how this thing is built, because the craft here deserves more credit than it usually gets. Start with the viewpoint. You're not looking at this scene from ground level, the way you'd actually stand on a hillside. You're floating above it, looking down at an angle, taking in the ploughman, the coastline, and a harbour town in the far distance all at once. That's an elevated, almost bird's eye vantage point, and it lets a single canvas hold a farm, a shepherd's field, a beach, an open sea, without any of it feeling cramped. Getting that much space to breathe on one panel takes real control. Then look at what the colour is doing. The foreground is built from browns and warm earth tones. The middle ground shifts into green. The far background fades into a hazy blue that blurs into the sky. Painters call this atmospheric perspective, the idea that distant objects lose colour and sharpness the way they actually do to the human eye. And Bruegel didn't have a diagram for it or a rule book to follow. He just watched how the world looked from a hill and matched it in paint, layer by layer. 3 distinct colour zones stitched together so smoothly, your eye reads it as distance without ever consciously noticing the trick. And that ploughman in the foreground, the one who never looks up. His red shirt isn't just a nice colour choice, it's placed to be the first thing your eye catches when you look at this painting, pulling your attention toward the everyday and away from the tragedy happening behind him. Follow the furrows he's ploughing, and they run in a diagonal line straight across the canvas, guiding your eye further into the scene, almost against your will. Whoever painted this understood exactly where a viewer's eye would land first, and used it to make sure you'd walk right past Icarus the same way the ploughman does. None of this happens by accident. Every choice on this canvas, the camera angle nobody had a word for yet, the colour shifting by distance, the furrows steering your eye, is doing exact work. Whoever held the brush on this canvas earned the right to have people still arguing about it 470 years later. The painting is attributed to Peter Bruegel the Elder, working in Flanders in the 1550s and 60s, though we need to be honest about something here. Technical examination of the surviving canvas in the 1990s cast real doubt on whether this exact physical painting came from Bruegel's own hand. Most scholars now believe what hangs in Brussels today is a very skilled copy, likely painted by someone in his workshop a few years after an original by Bruegel that no longer survives. What isn't in dispute is the composition itself. That belongs to Bruegel. Whoever held the brush was working from his design. This is the only painting in Bruegel's surviving body of work that draws its subject from classical mythology. Everywhere else, he painted peasants, weddings, harvests, village games, proverbs acted out by ordinary Flemish villagers. He built an entire career on paintings of common people doing common things at a time when serious art was expected to depict saints, kings, and gods. So when he finally does take on a myth, one of the most dramatic myths in the Greek canon, a father watching his son fall from the sky, he paints it the same way he painted everything else. He shrinks the myth down to nothing and lets the peasants keep the frame. The farmer gets more canvas space than the god-touch boy falling to his death behind him. That's not an accident. That's Bruegel doing what Bruegel always did, refusing to let a big name make him treat a scene as more important than the people living through an ordinary day next to it. There's also a Flemish proverb historians connect to this painting, and the farmer kept ploughing. It's a phrase about how the world does not stop for anyone's tragedy, no matter how large. Bruegel didn't invent the sentiment. He just found a way to paint it. W.H. Auden wrote a poem about this exact painting in 1938 called Musée des Beaux-Arts, after standing in front of it in a Brussels museum. His point was simple. Suffering happens while someone else is opening a window or eating or just walking along, indifferent to what's going on nearby. He wasn't being cynical about it. He was describing something true about how tragedy actually works in the real world. It rarely stops traffic. Most of the time it happens in the corner of the frame while the rest of the world keeps its eyes on the road or the ship or the flock of sheep in front of it. That's what makes this painting land the way it does once you finally see it. Bruegel isn't hiding Icarus because he forgot to paint him properly. He's hiding him on purpose, forcing you to become one more figure who almost misses the fall, just like the farmer and the shepherd and the sailors on the ship. You spend the first look at this painting exactly the way everyone in it spends their afternoon, not noticing. And that partridge sitting quietly above the fisherman isn't just a clever reference for people who happen to know their Ovid. It's the only figure in the entire painting actually watching. Everyone else missed it. The bird didn't. 470 years later, most people still miss it too, scrolling past a masterpiece with the answer sitting in its own title, looking everywhere except the bottom right corner of the frame.